Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel and Disboards.com. This is the best and worst of Walt Disney World. I am your host, Rhino Clavin, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 5 best tips from former cast members. And I've got the former cast members with me here today. Joining me for this discussion, we've got Mr. Steve Porter.
Hello.
And his lovely wife, Miss Michaela Porter.
Hi.
Well, I guess Mrs. Michaela Porter, not Miss. And then in the back, we've got Craig Williams, the man who makes it happen.
Hello.
All of us have been cast members at a time or another in our lives, different points in different parks and
different lengths.
places. Hey, if we had gotten an Animal Kingdom cast member, actually, we would have had all 4 parks here, I think, because Epcot was you, Craig, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I was at Backlot. I was at a Backlot tour, but I was at Hollywood Studios, and you guys were at Magic Kingdom, yes?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Okay, well, we've got some tips for you out there. We thought this might be fun. We tried to just sit and think for a little bit. What are some of the best tips that we could give you as cast members, former cast members, to you, the guests coming to the park? And I think we settled on our number 5 here being magical moments. We have some things to say about that. And Michaela, you said it to me right before the show started. What did you say?
So never be afraid to wear like the buttons that you can if it really is your birthday. I mean, don't be a jerk and just wear it for the heck of it. But if it's your birthday, you never know what a cast member is going to do to give you a little extra magical moment, like a cupcake or something. Don't ask for them because that's obnoxious and we hate that.
Yeah.
But you never know.
I think that's the perfect thing. Don't go in expecting anything extra. The button was the expectation, and think that's the ceiling. There might not be anything on the other side. You might not shatter it, but think I got a free button.
And you might get a bonus from that. Who knows?
You know, so I mean, for me, it's just a signal of being like, I like when I was a cast member, I used to just love being able to be like, "Happy birthday, Steve."
Oh yeah. Well, and then it's embarrassing when you go to the
Michaela.
park as a guest and you say happy birthday, and they're like, "Okay, you're creepy."
Oh God,
sorry,
get
just
away
a
from me,
habit.
weirdo. Yeah. Yeah, it's a habit I can't kick, especially when it's like a kid that goes by and you'll be like, "Happy birthday, princess." Like, sir, you're no longer
Step away from my child.
Well, we'll keep it positive because these are the best tips. We number 4 we thought was a good tip to leave was to try and make sure that you leave a cast compliment. We find that as former cast members, as anyone who's probably ever worked retail or a frontline position, you know that when people are angry, you're the one that gets to hear about it the most. They scream in your face, and maybe for rightly so or something like that. But remember, you're always complaining when you're mad. Maybe always do the opposite. Leave a little compliment when you're happy.
I think that this strategy is the best for a long-term. Like if you are someone that comes back to Disney World like every year, every 2 years, and so you're constantly as a family coming back. I think that this is something that's going to pay off long term because that person that you're giving a cast compliment to, if they're getting enough of those cast compliments, it goes on their record at Disney.
Yeah.
And so who knows if maybe your cast compliment is the one that makes them end up being a coordinator one day.
And they tweet about you now. Back in our day, they didn't do that.
Yeah, I know. I
feel really chipped. I never got a tweet.
It's so much easier now. Twitter, you can do at WDW today or WDW whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, it pops up. You can do whatever. Brandy helped me at at the People Mover. Confectionery, whatever. She was wonderful and made this magic. #cast compliment.
Yeah, you don't even have to go to guest relations now.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Hopefully they're carrying through with that, and there is not somebody just on a computer being like, "We'll be sure to relay this to Brandy."
They tweet the pictures, and then the cast member, they'll send a picture of the cast member, send it. I feel like I'm 90. They'll tweet the picture with the cast member, holding a picture of your tweet.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's actually, I didn't know that.
Really
that's
cool.
really nice. Yeah.
You have to follow Walt Disney World on Twitter, something I know you don't do.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. You don't know.
You don't. There's no Power Rangers involved. There's not.
Also, there were at one time.
Yeah, not anymore. Also, you know what? Leave bad feedback, too. I know it sounds weird, but one of the best...
I like to say constructive criticism.
No, bad feedback. I'm going with that. One of the best... this didn't happen while I was with Disney. I know I'm very close right now.
Like you're in the shadows, too. Our opposite lighting right here, for anybody watching, is I am matching the sky somehow right now. It's very blue and warm, and then Craig is this, dark voice in the back.
I brightened myself up a little bit, but yeah, we did not check my camera before starting. It doesn't doesn't matter to you audio people out there. But one of the best pieces of bad feedback that I ever had, it wasn't while I was with Disney, but at Universal, I spent time living in Ohio, and I'm an Ohio State fan. That was my dad's alma mater, and it's been an important part of my entire life, pretty much. So anytime I meet anyone from the state that's right above Ohio, it's a terrible place. Detroit is a part of it, and you know who you are if you live there, but I would give them a hard time anytime I ask them where they're from, and that was their answer. And finally, I apparently met the one guest who had never had any experience with the rivalry between those two states.
Oh, no.
And so when they said, "Oh, I'm from Michigan," and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry," they didn't understand. Even after me explaining, like, I'm an Ohio person, they did not get it at all. Like, it just went over their heads. They went and left me a negative comment and said, and my supervisor was so confused, and they're like, "I don't understand why you said this." And I was like, "Were you okay? Were you having a bad day?" And I was like, "No, it's a joke. It's
That'd be like somebody not understanding, like, I'm from Massachusetts, from Boston area, and you'd be like, whenever you meet anybody from New York, I see anybody with the Yankees hat, there's a whole thing with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's only like 100 and something years old, so it's whatever, but, I can understand not getting it.
But that's also with cast members, sometimes they get in their routines with stuff like that. They might make jokes that while it works 99% of the time, you never know when you're going to offend the one person. So I stopped using that, and instead I looked for more positive ways to have interactions, even with people I didn't agree with philosophically about where they decide to live. So good and fad feedback. What is that even?
I don't know. Fab. Fab. That's the Fab Five.
It's all the hunching I'm doing right now. It's really hurting my back.
Yeah, you are. You look like a
what is that?
contortionist right now. I am confused. We let him out of the cage, so it's still like you gotta like
Hunchy.
do the thing. Yeah. Another tip we have as people who have worked at attractions that require grouping large amounts of people is when you hear somebody yell, fill in all the available space. You might feel a little awkward for a second. I'm going to use Haunted Mansion as an example. None of us have worked there or anything like that, but you can literally go from like this spot and like a spot way in the back and just go right up the side of the wall, right up to the mansion doors. Sometimes when somebody says fill in all the available space, and you might get the looks or whatever, but that cast member wants you to fill in all that available space because they can load the attraction more efficiently, and that will make the difference. But like, you could get essentially in that elevator a whole ride vehicle, a whole show? I don't want to say ride, but you know what I mean, a whole section earlier if you're just listening.
I know it's not everyone's favorite attraction or show, but Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, the pre-show there, that holds basically how many people can exactly fit in that theater to have a full theater. So if people aren't moving all the way into the pre-show, then the next show is not going to get full. So yeah, I mean, it's just you're just making your own wait time longer, especially and the whole community of Disney people that are visiting. If you're not doing it, other people probably don't care either. Yeah. And then when you're waiting for that next ride, they're like, "Oh, well, I saw these other people not moving all the way forward." I don't know. You just have to move all the way forward.
Well, and it's a false sense for the people who are in all the way at the back of the line, and they're constantly like, "Why is this not moving? What is happening here? Why do I feel like I'm standing in the same place?" And then you get to a certain point, and then you start rushing through and running through.
Yeah.
And it feels all that. Usually that is because people aren't properly filling in the space. When they do, you're going to actually not have that backup. And it's one of those things that, at the end of the day, you're pretty much waiting the same amount of time one way or another. But mentally, when you're standing in that line that's 15 minutes long, that you're like, why did I do this? I should have just waited for a fast pass. It seems like it'll go by quicker when everyone's moving at the pace they should. And you do that by filling in all the available space.
Yeah.
Well, and if the people in front of you aren't filling in the space, just move in front of them.
Yeah.
It's their own fault.
Yeah.
They didn't move, so you move around them.
They lose out. Like, that's the thing. Like, we would do this, like, filling the stadium at Lights, Motors, Action. You try to get everybody slide all the way down. And, oh, no, I don't want it. I want to stay. I'm like, I'm trying to slide you into a better view of the stadium. Like, yes, I'm trying to get more people in here, but what I'm trying to explain to you is if you listen to me now, you won't have to deal with a worse problem later, which is like people coming over you or like having to move to a different section all the way down the road. But Craig makes a very valid point with if nobody moves all the way forward, and I know this is Walt Disney World, but not to bring it back to a Universal attraction at the Forbidden Journey. You miss the entire castle because nobody moved all the way forward. You have to race through it after that and stuff. So it's very annoying, very annoying. But another tip that I think is very important for everybody: drink lots of water. When I worked at Hollywood Studios, I worked in all the attractions I worked at were all outside, not a lot of coverage or anything like that. And I'm telling you, I'm drinking water constantly, and I would still there were still days where I'm like, this is impossible. And I get it. A Coke is very refreshing. But I have seen too many children start puking Coca-Cola products everywhere because their parents were like, give them that Coke. And I'm like, what about the water?
So we started in our program in January, and it wasn't funny, but it was a little bit funny. Like April and May hit, and all of a sudden you would start seeing people passing out because it was getting hotter and they weren't drinking water. And like January, I was like, oh, this is fine. Like, I'll never have to call an alpha. April and May hit, and they were all for people passing out because they weren't drinking water. Yeah,
an Alpha unit is an ambulance for anybody that doesn't know, because we all still call them that.
I know.
But yeah, it's surprising. Like, even when you think you're okay, you don't realize it. You know what I mean? Like, because you're most likely you're visiting from an area where Florida is very humid, and when it is 100% humidity, sweat is a cooling process, but when the air is 100% saturated
when the air
with
is
humidity,
also sweaty,
the water won't evaporate off your skin, which then causes your core temperature to heat up, and that's how you get heat stroke. That's the rest,
Well, it's even the average person that you see them post on Facebook, like, I came to Walt Disney World and I walked 14 miles today. Chances are they don't walk 14 miles a day in their normal life, so they don't drink enough water to match the energy that they're putting into it. So,
well, I think about too, I think about when you go to Epcot and everybody wants to drink around the world, it's not just the, I had, 2 beers, forgot to insert a water in there, No, you got to think every one of those drinks you have is probably going to hit you just a little bit harder because you're losing all your salt, you're losing everything,
I think that there's too many people that just are running off of like the Disney adrenaline, and they don't and then all of a sudden it crashes super quick.
It'll ruin your day.
Don't realize,
And water cups are free at a quick service location.
That's ask it. That's
no excuse if you don't want to pay for water.
A great tip right there. They'll give you ice water at any one of those locations, at any location that serves food. Yeah.
Just
don't. If they have a water spout.
Quick service,
just don't bring a refillable bottle anywhere near any of their water refill stations, because I feel like they'll call SWAT on you to come. Sir, were you going to put that in a plastic cup before refilling? Yes, but now I'm wasting extra plastic. Will you get your act together and just add water bottle refill stations?
I know. Come on now. Get with us. I saw one in downtown Orlando the other day around the park. I was like, good for you.
They were around ancient Italy.
Yeah, they were. We could literally stoop and just drink water out of a thing.
I've never seen Craig get so upset about something so
I love how you said ancient Italy, too. Like, we had to travel to the far-off ancient Italy.
We just watched a Screen Junkies video about the mummy, and they said ancient like 32 times in that movie. It's my new word of the day, ancient.
We think a number one tip for you to remember is respect the frontline cast member. Ancient
knowledge.
Secret, yes. It's one of those things where, like, yes, I get it. We can all go there, and they're kind of acting like, oh, whatever, I don't care. Blame it on anything. But maybe they've been yelled at nonstop today. But also remember, when you're upset about a policy, the person you're yelling at didn't write the policy.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Ask them what you could do, who you could provide that feedback to, maybe. I'm not saying they're all trying, but as somebody who always, whatever job he does, always tries to do the best job he can, it was hard when you get the people. I've had somebody say to me, I was literally like just telling them the rule of where they could go, and I understand, I don't want to get into the very specifics of the situation, but essentially I was like, why don't you move over here? And then all of your party could stay together instead of having to split you up. and they thought I was trying to do something to them where essentially the conversation ended with, you've ruined my vacation.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I remember
I think
thinking,
we've all ruined a vacation or two in our
and I'm
time as
like,
cast members.
clearly something.
Anybody
has
else
gone
leave
wrong.
work in tears a couple times, or just me?
Oh, I've been spit on. That was fun.
I was told that I ruined a vacation because the Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin was down, and I just started my shift. And they're like, you've ruined my vacation. I said, I just got here like 15 minutes ago.
Also, what kind of vacation is that?
Yeah.
That Buzz Lightyear...
Have a good attitude and be nice to them, because frontline cast members can make your lives miserable, or they can be your best friend.
And I was very like, when people came up and there was like the extra fun interaction, and again, this is just personal experience, not whatever, but there was a VIP section over there, and you know what I did? Put you right in the VIP section. If you were nice and I felt like we were becoming friends, you went in the VIP section.
Yeah, I definitely gave out a balloon or like a fast pass or something, because someone after a really bad experience, if I had like a really awesome experience right after that, I'd be like, do you know what? You turned my day around, so here you go.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a secret, and I hope it's not. So this is like just a half tip here, but there are people more important than frontline cast members. So you go from cast members up to the coordinators, and then you have your managers there too. Yes, the managers are constantly walking around and busy, so it may take some time. If you really have a big complaint that you need to take up the flagpole, you might have to wait a little while, which then in that time you're going to get extra irritated because you're not like, I'm angry and I'm waiting, and now I'm waiting longer. But
and I didn't drink enough water today.
and there's no refill stations. And so, but there are people that actually, there are people that you need to be giving that feedback to in those situations.
Because a frontline cast member cannot do anything to help you in that situation.
The dude that's standing out front of Peter Pan's flight wearing the mirrored aviators that aren't allowed by cast members, he might stand there with a smug smile just taking it all in because he likes getting yelled at. But at the end of the day, it's going to be his coordinator that might be able to help, or his manager. So just, if you feel like they can help, then maybe have that discussion with them. But if you feel like you're just going to be yelling and be rude, don't put that on them. Just go straight to saying, I need to speak to whoever your superior is. And if you feel like they still can't help you, there's at least one more that you can get before things get too bad.
I also would say with this whole respecting frontline cast members is listen to them when they're like speaking to you, because sometimes it's about your safety. Whether it's like watch your step or like,
the chains.
Right. People jumping over chains.
Don't climb over the chains. Don't do it. I watched a kid crack his head open. Don't sit on the chains. Don't do whatever.
I watched a kid get his front tooth knocked out right as I said, don't walk over the clunk on the floor.
I loved watching that crap. It was so funny.
I felt bad, but
I like when the people with the
have to tell you
backpack
before
try to
you
sneak
learn?
in and the backpack gets caught, and then they like try to stand up, but then they the rope ends up elasticing them back down to the ground.
Yeah, this one is completely unrelated on that, but every now and then this is so bad. But at Forbidden Journey, we'd have people who would get concerned coming up to us in line and like, is this gonna make me sick? And they're like, if you can handle Spider-Man, you can handle Star Tours, stuff like that, you should be fine. It'll be good. And then you're watching inevitably the video of them coming in to unload, standing up, and then throwing up all over the place.
It's like that scene in Parks and Rec where he like, stands up and pukes.
Why? I'm cleaning that up now. Why didn't I just tell them not to go on? They knew they couldn't go on, and they did.
God. Okay, well, we'll finish this up now because I feel like I'm going to start
Now we're all nauseous.
Heaving in a second here, but... all right, well, that's the top 5 tips that these former cast members have for you, and that is 1, magical moments. Don't forget to wear the buttons. 4, take the time to leave a compliment. We complain when we're mad, but let's complain when we're happy. That's not how I meant to say that. Let's applaud when things go right. Number 3, fill in all the available space. Number 2, drink all that water. And number 1, respect those cast members. Thank you, everybody, for having this conversation with me. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching. If you've got topics for future shows you want to see us address, leave those comments below on YouTube, or you can tweet at them at the Diz or send them into the podcast email, podcast@DizUnplugged. I might see it. I don't know. I hope so. Anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you next time with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World.